After an absolute barrage of free agency moves, we knew that fantasy football rankings were definitely going to change. And even though they're going to change again in another month or so when the NFL draft takes place, I think it's still a good point for us to update all of you on where we stand on running backs and wide receivers who are already done. And then in today's video, we're going to talk about quarterbacks and tight ends as well. And I will make note right now that this is being recorded before Aaron Rodgers has made a decision about whether or not he's joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if that changes before this video comes out, then you'll know heading into it that that information is not included. We'll talk about an Aaron Rodgers update when and if it happens. Who knows? Maybe the guy will just retire at this point. I think a lot of people would just be happier anyway. But let's go ahead and start things off today by talking about my top 24 quarterbacks. And I've got 5 quarterbacks that are inside the number 1 tier for me right now. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts. Those 4 guys all have something in common. They're dynamic playmaking through the air and on the ground. And that's why they're going to lead the way as my top 4 quarterbacks heading into 2025 as of right now. But one of these things are not like the other, and that's number 5, Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow was really on the cusp of being the number 1 guy in tier 2 or the last guy in tier 1. And finally, even though he doesn't fit the same mold as these other quarterbacks, he's not going to get a whole lot of fantasy points on the ground. There's a really good chance that Cincinnati's defense is so bad this year that he's going to be throwing the ball a ton anyway. And all those yards and all those touchdowns may end up being very close to the guys ahead of them, even if he doesn't have a whole lot of yards on the ground. But all 5 of these guys should be the first 5 quarterbacks taken off the board when redraft leagues start drafting here in a few months. And really, for the top 4 guys, you can split hairs. If you like Jaden Daniels more, take him number 1 overall. If you like Jalen Hurts more, take him number 1 overall. If you like Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter. For the top 4 guys, they're all going to be very, very close. Take whoever you like the most. Now, moving on to tier 2, I've got a few guys that are solid. Maybe they don't scream upside to you the way tier 1 guys do, but these guys give you quarterback 1 weeks over and over again. Yeah, the upside isn't what you would want, but the safety of a QB1 is there all the time. Baker Mayfield at number 6. He'll be getting Chris Godwin back. That just gives him another weapon to throw to after back-to-back top 10 quarterback finishes the last 2 years. Justin Herbert at number 7. Now, I'm ranking him here under the impression that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to add another offensive weapon for him. But when you take a look at the splits between last season to start the year, Justin Herbert didn't look like the same dynamic quarterback. But as the year went on, he got better and better and better. And he showed us that he absolutely can be a top 10 fantasy quarterback with the weapons that he currently has. But I think they'll be giving him somebody else here in the draft. And number 8, Patrick Mahomes, and this is probably the lowest that he's been ranked in quite some time. And honestly, I don't see a need to move him any higher than this. If you're taking him anywhere among the top 5 quarterbacks, you're doing it wrong, because we haven't seen Patrick Mahomes give you that type of fantasy value in at least a couple of years. Patrick Mahomes, to me, is a guy that's going to give you top 12 potential, safe value with maybe some upside every now and then. But he's not going to be a guy that is a top 1, 2, or 3 quarterback anymore unless they give him the weapons to do so. Another year of Xavier Worthy, obviously that could help things. Marquise Brown returning, if he's healthy, that could help things as well. But Travis Kelce, he's on the back end of his career at this point. And as of right now, Patrick Mahomes, even though he's a safe bet for fantasy, he doesn't have the upside that he's used to. And for that reason, you can't really draft him that high anymore. And at number 9, Jared Goff. Yes, they have a change at the offensive coordinator position, but Ben Johnson to Johnny Morton isn't going to be nearly the type of dramatic change that I think a lot of people feel like it will be. Johnny Morton was a senior offensive advisor for the Detroit Lions just a couple of years ago, and Ben Johnson has been noted as saying that a lot of his offensive philosophy and creativity in the game planning came from Johnny Morton and his teachings. I think Johnny Morton is the perfect replacement for Ben Johnson, and Jared Goff should see a seamless transition as well. All right, let's go to tier 3. Now, tier 3 for me are a lot of quarterbacks that offer really good QB1 type of upside, but maybe their floor isn't as nice as what we would like. Or they have some question marks right now that really keep me from just pushing them any higher. At number 10, Kyler Murray. We know that he's going to add some fantasy points with anything that he does on the ground from a rushing yards or touchdown perspective. But inconsistencies through the air are what kind of bring him down on a weekly basis and make it a very big roller coaster from week to week. Caleb Williams at number 11. With Ben Johnson now as the head coach, you got to think Caleb Williams takes the next step. He's got plenty of weapons around him with DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Cole Kmet, and potentially an upgrade in the draft at the running back position as well. Caleb Williams, still some question marks, but should take a jump. Jordan Love. Packers fans are probably irate right now for me to even think that Caleb Williams should be listed above Jordan Love, but I'm going to give Caleb Williams the benefit of the doubt for two reasons. Number one, offensive-minded head coach that I believe is superior to what they're doing offensively in Green Bay. And number two, the weapons around him. While Green Bay has a better run game right now, the Chicago Bears, from a pass-catching perspective, blow Green Bay out of the water. And number 13, Bo Nix, finishes the QB 11 last season and had some really great performances throughout the year. As of right now, what I want to see in the draft is an upgrade to the run game to help take the pressure off Bo Nix and maybe give him some more big playability or another offensive weapon for him as well. Some of those wide receiver twos that they have need to have a breakout campaign. I just like the upside to some of the guys above him right now when it comes to what they do passing. And number 14, Matthew Stafford. And I think you could make an argument that Stafford should go even higher than this. A full season of Tyler Higbee being back and healthy, Puka Nacua, hopefully he can be healthy for an entire year, and the addition of Devontae Adams could make Matthew Stafford a top 12 quarterback once again. But as of right now, his upside is just a little bit lower than some of the guys in front of him. And number 15, Brock Purdy. Brandon Ayuk, when is he going to be back and fully healthy? Deebo Samuel, he's gone at this point. Is Ricky Pearsall going to have a breakout campaign? Will Christian McCaffrey be healthy? Really right now, when everything surrounds Brock Purdy, you've taken some weapons away and you really haven't upgraded your weapons either at this point. For me, he's more of a safer play than an upside play. At number 16, Drake May. And quite honestly, it took everything I had not to make him higher in my rankings, because I think that you could make an argument that Drake May could be above Brock Purdy, above Matthew Stafford, and you may even be able to make an argument that he could be above Bo Nix as well. I think the addition of Stephon Diggs is going to be really good for this team. And at number 4 overall, they have an opportunity to add Travis Hunter to also help on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, let's go ahead and go to tier 4 now. The rest of my top 24. Now, these are all guys that I think could make a jump towards being potential QB1s. Maybe not on a regular basis, but showing you some of that upside that would allow you to play them. These guys in a 2 quarterback or a super flex league, that's where I'm looking for them, but maybe not as a 1 QB starter as of yet. At number 17, Dak Prescott. Cowboy fans are going to be irate, but I don't care. Number 1, your offensive line is not going to be nearly as good as it has been. Number 2, what are you going to do about the run game? As of right now, all you have is Javonte Williams. I like Williams, but is he going to be enough to take the pressure off? Number 3, a deep threat. Who do you have going deep down the field to try and take some of the pressure off the middle of the field with CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson working in that area? A lot of question marks around Dak right now. And number 18, CJ Stroud. You're taking away Stephon Diggs, and you're also not going to have Tank Dell anytime soon. You did add Christian Kirk, which I like that move quite a bit, but your offensive line right now absolutely sucks. Depending on what Houston does in the draft, he could end up going higher if the offensive line gets better. But what a fall, and it's really not even Stroud's fault. And number 19, Michael Penix Jr. We saw some good things from him at the end of last season, but the Atlanta Falcons decided to keep Christian Kirk on the roster instead of releasing or trading him, and they're going to be paying him a hefty amount. What if we're back to a quarterback battle between Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins in camp, and they give Kirk Cousins another opportunity to win the starting job? At number 20, J.J. McCarthy. I don't buy the fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in Minnesota or that Minnesota is trading for another quarterback. J.J. is their guy, and he will be in week 1 to start the season. I love his upside, and I love his potential. He's got all the weapons around him. He's got the QB whisperer obviously there as well, making things work for him. But when I take a look at what J.J. McCarthy could do in terms of upside, I have to just keep in mind and pump the brakes. He hasn't played a full NFL season as of yet, so there may be some growing pains to go along with it. Trevor Lawrence, I like what they're doing, adding an offensive-minded head coach there in Jacksonville that hopefully can get everything that you need out of Trevor Lawrence, but he's got to stay healthy. You've got your number 1 wide receiver and Brian Thomas Jr. You did take away Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, so you're going to be asking some other people to step up, and if they do, Jacksonville could end up being a very sneaky offensive team. And number 22, Tua. He should be a lot higher, but 2 reasons why not. Number 1, health is always an issue with Tua at this point. You have to anticipate him potentially missing some time every single season. But number 2, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill at the end of the season basically said, I'm gone. I want to trade. Then basically came back and Miami and him reconciled and I'm staying in Miami. And then all of a sudden again, over the past week on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days, he's throwing up the deuces again and basically making seem like he wants out of Miami. Who knows what that guy wants right now? The only thing that we do know is he's helping pop out more babies than he is catching touchdowns. At 23, Sam Darnold. The drop from what he had in Minnesota is going to be real. And even though I do believe he's a top 24 quarterback with the weapons that they have there in Seattle, I'm still not fully convinced at this point that we're going to see some of the upside that we did last year. Cooper Kupp is going to need to stay healthy, and the offensive line is going to need the block. And at number 24, Bryce Young. I loved what I saw at the end of last season with Bryce Young. He absolutely looked like a top 24 quarterback. In fact, over the last 3 weeks of the season, he looked like a top 12 quarterback. Some of that growth is going to have to continue to move forward. They spent all of free agency really honing in on the defense. The draft now needs to upgrade his weapons. Time to transition over to tight ends, the football kind. Don't get too excited out there, those of you that have premium OnlyFans memberships. This is all about fantasy football today. And right now, I've only got 3 tight ends in the top tier. And I don't think it's going to shock anybody. George Kittle is going to be number 1 for me. What we've seen from him last year and previous years in just terms of overall involvement in the passing game. Now Deebo Samuel's gone. We don't know when Brandon Ayuk is going to be back. For me personally, George Kittle, he's number 1 because we know he's got all the upside. Number 2, going to be Brock Bowers. Love Brock Bowers. Love what he did last year. But this is a new coaching staff. This is a team with a new quarterback in Geno Smith, and we have to kind of figure out exactly, will he be used this year similar to the way he was last year, and is Geno going to lock onto him consistently? And at number 3, Trey McBride. I almost put Trey McBride at number 2 over Brock Bowers. I'm going to give Brock Bowers the benefit of the doubt that Geno Smith ends up being just fine, however, and that the volume ends up being there maybe a little bit more consistent than Trey McBride, especially if Marvin Harrison Jr. takes a step forward. Tier 2, guys that have all the upside is the Tier 1 guys, but technically will not give you that Tier 1 upside on a consistent basis. And I'm going to go Sam Laporta first off at number 4 in the second tier. I like Sam Laporta. I talked about it with Jared Goff. I don't think there's going to be a huge transition with this offense. I think Johnny Morton is going to utilize Sam Laporta very well. And because of that, he's going to have some really good games like he did last season, but maybe he won't be as consistent as he was in his rookie year now that Jameson Williams is showing a little bit more upside and consistent play as well. At number 5, Jonnu Smith had a huge breakout campaign with Tua last year, and I have to fully expect that he's going to continue to look his way early and often. Hopefully he does. Hopefully Jonnu just doesn't disappear, but we've seen it happen before. At number 6, David Njoku. And when it comes to David Njoku, the good news is that he should be one of the 2 top pass catchers on this team. Him and Jerry Jeudy should be 1A, 1B in terms of targets this coming season. But kind of the bad news, who's the quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Kenny Pickett? Do the Browns luck out and maybe get Cam Ward at number 2 overall? Do they end up drafting Shedeur Sanders? There's still some question marks about who's going to be throwing the ball, which could lead to David Njoku maybe going up a couple spots or coming down a couple of spots. At number 7, TJ Hockenson. Now, when he first arrived to Minnesota, he was really the number 2 option on this team. And JJ McCarthy is probably still going to look his way early and often. But Jordan Addison is the number 2 option on this team. And the big playability of this offense may sometimes leave TJ Hockenson with a little bit less than we would like. At number 8, Mark Andrews. Now, he had a terrible start to last season, but ended up coming on strong down the stretch for us. So if you held on to Mark Andrews, you probably were okay with him. If you picked him up off waivers because his first owner got upset, you were probably happy with that one as well. Now, obviously, quite the ending to the season for him in the playoffs, unfortunately. But maybe that's some extra motivation for him. Even though they ended DeAndre Hopkins, Mark Andrews still has the opportunity to be the number 2 target in this offense behind Zay Flowers. And as long as they have Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, he's going to be up and down, and he won't take over for Mark Andrews anytime soon. All right, let's go ahead and move on to tier 3. And this group of players are going to be some tight ends that maybe don't have the top tier upside, but they have the floor as the guys in front of them as well. And when you take a look at the number 1 guy to kick it off, Travis Kelce, probably the lowest that he's been ranked in quite some time. But he's another year older. He just doesn't move the way that he used to, and he's not utilized the way that he used to either. And with all those factors coming together, is he a guy that's going to give you some tight end 1 weeks? Absolutely. Is he going to give you tight end 1 overall weeks like he used to? Probably not. He would have to score a touchdown for that to happen, and this offense is going to have to get a whole lot more dynamic to start seeing more time in the red zone. Jake Ferguson at number 10. Now, this is a guy that had breakout potential written all over him last year, but unfortunately, injuries slowed that down. This year with the Dallas offensive line, maybe not blocking as well as it has in the past, Dak may not have a ton of time to throw. We may have to get it out quick. CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson could see a ton of intermediate targets. At number 11, Dalton Kincaid. The guy has to break out at some point, right? I would hope so, but you just never know with him at this point. He was drafted a few years ago as a pass catcher and a guy that was going to revitalize this offense, and he just hasn't done anything consistently since then. But you never know, maybe this is the year. At number 12, Cole Kmet, really a forgotten part of this offense last season, I think is going to be brought back into the fold. They already decided, as of right now, they're not bringing back Keenan Allen, which is going to give Cole Kmet maybe a few more targets this season. But we know Ben Johnson loved to utilize Sam Laporta in some fun ways, and that Lions offense, and Cole Kmet could end up doing the same thing. At number 13, Evan Ingram. I'm not 1,000% sold on him getting all the targets that we used to see in Jacksonville, but there's definitely a possibility for him to be number 2 behind Courtland Sutton. I think some of it's going to depend on the wide receiver 2s and whether some of those guys start to break out. Evan Ingram is in a decent spot, but I gotta see it. And number 14, Kyle Pitts. I mean, we're done drafting this guy at this point, right? I mean, if you end up drafting him, you need to be taking him as a guy that is a late round flyer. Kyle Pitts can no longer be drafted as a tight end you feel like is going to be the tight end 1. And if you feel like he hits and he's a guy that you can consistently play, that's awesome. But if you miss out on drafting Kyle Pitts this season, it's not going to kill you. And at number 15, Dallas Goedert. Unfortunately, injuries continue to be an issue over the course of his career. We know they're going to run the ball an awful lot with Saquon Barkley. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith already in tow, and because of that, Dallas Goedert is a guy that's going to have some decent weeks, but the upside that he used to have just is no longer there. Headliner Nation, there you have it. I went through my top 24 quarterbacks and my top 15 tight ends. And obviously with the NFL draft less than a month away, things are going to change once again. And we'll be back here with updated rankings to get you ready to go. For now though, Headliner Nation, I'm going to head on out. Peace out, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Analytics.